Welcome to What Happened on the Job, the podcast for relatable conversations with contractors and maybe even a little bit of entertainment. My name is Mike Fisher, and with me, as always, is my colleague Brian Summers.
How you doing, everyone?
And today with us, we got Richard Marquez from 1-800 Water Damage. How you doing, Richard?
Good.
Good.
Really
Perfect.
good.
So tell us a little bit about your business. Where are you guys at? What do you guys do?
We're 1-800 Water Damage of Murrieta-Temecula. We are part of Belfour. We do water, mold, smoke, fire, sewage. We do all of it.
A little bit of everything?
Yeah.
Are you guys doing more commercial work, residential work? Where do you guys...
I do mostly residential, but we have done some commercial.
Okay.
Yes.
Like infrastructure, government buildings, that kind of stuff? Do you get into any of that kind of stuff?
I've done the trampoline parks.
Oh, wow. Good.
So we've been...
And how long you guys been in business?
3.5 years for 1-800 Water Damage, yes.
And you guys are, like you were saying, you're a franchise of 1-800 Water Damage?
Of Belfour, yeah.
Okay, perfect. And you guys are working just out of Murrieta, or how far is your scope of business?
I've been called out all the way to Santa Barbara. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've all the way down to San Diego we've been called out, and all the way up to Palm Desert.
Wow.
Yeah.
How often are you guys actually making those treks? Are you mostly in Murrieta and Temecula, or
we are mostly in Murrieta-Temecula Valley, but when the pipes burst or the fire starts and they call us, we come running. So wherever they need us, we go.
Cool.
Were you just, from a California standpoint, were you involved in any of those fires that were going on up north? Did you guys help do any of that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, we were. In fact, I have a really funny story with that. Not funny, but we were up there and we got called in for a fire job. And we were working the fire job, and then the mudslides came, and a couple of my houses got filled with mud, but one house didn't. So we're cleaning the house that didn't get with mudslide. So we go there, we're cleaning the smoke. Well, it turns out a retaining wall breaks while we're at the house and covers all roads leaving that house. So we're there overnight.
Trapped in.
Yeah, we're trapped. Luckily, we had gotten lunch, and
You had supplies?
We're sleeping. We're getting overtime tonight. We're going to be in this house all night.
Did the house have nice furnishings for you guys to hang out in?
We were on the couches. I didn't want to sleep in the people's beds, so we were on the floors and couches, and just kind of the next day they cleared the roads, and we were able to get out of there. So
that's funny.
Did it have any effect on any other homes in the area, or was it just the major roads that the mudslides came in on?
That mudslides affected everybody down there. Yeah. So, but unfortunately, we had these 4 jobs, and the one job that wasn't affected by the mudslides, I'm like, well, let's go take care of this one, and that got us stuck.
Bad timing.
Or good timing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overtime.
Right, overtime. Yeah. You guys are a little relaxation. Yeah.
Stories.
So how long have you guys been in business for? About 3.5 years. How long have you been doing this specific type of work?
A little over 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just with other companies as a management.
My own
you own your own.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We did restoration mostly of the contents of the house. So a lot of people don't realize, when there's a flood, fire, mold, the contents has to be removed, cleaned. If there's mold, you don't want mold spores on your furniture.
Right.
You don't want smoke. So we took that out, cleaned it, brought it back when the house was done being rebuilt. Got tired of that, wanted to do all the job. So now we do the whole job.
Perfect.
And
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. So from an employee standpoint, are you guys training a lot of them on the job, or how is that working? Are you guys finding them coming in with training, or?
I hired one guy with training, and he's really great. But what I wanted to do, I was in the Marine Corps, and
thank you for your service.
Thank you. What I do is I go to the job fairs of people getting out of the service, and these engineers, people that are used to dealing with tools and stuff, and they have experience. They just don't have experience with what I do. I bring them on board. I hire them. They got a great work ethic. Yeah. They got attention to detail that I want, and they don't have any bad habits yet. So I teach them the way that I want them to do the job.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you're like you said, employing veterans too. That's a phenomenal business strategy in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Ryan's dad was in the Air Force, right?
No, Navy, and Marine Corps. Yeah.
Marine Corps.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Mr. Summers is going to be upset at me.
You will.
Yeah, so I think that's to kind of touch on our next subject is the labor shortage that I think a lot of contractors are seeing. I feel like you've kind of found a loophole around that maybe, and kind of your own little way in to find.
You just got to take a little bit more time to train them.
Right.
But you got a lot of guys that in the civilian world aren't used to being on call, aren't used to, when a flood or fire happens, hey, we're going to be here the next 12 hours working. We got to get this done.
Right.
And they're not used to that. But you get someone that was in the military and they're like,
Put your head down and grind, yeah.
The job's done when the job's done.
Yeah.
Right.
Been doing it forever.
Yeah. So, it works out good.
Well, and like you said before, that work ethic is already instilled in them.
Exactly.
So are you kind of from a training standpoint, are you a one-man show there? Do you guys have management that kind of helps out with that? Or
my wife, the smartest person I know.
Perfect.
She's
smart man right there.
Yeah, good job. So she's the other manager, and she helps, especially with the content side. When we're packing out and stuff like that, she's dealing a lot with, when there's China and things like that. She helps with that crew of packing out, making sure everything's done safely and inventoried the proper way, and to where the things that we take out of the house come back the same way,
in the same
actually
condition.
better, because they're clean now.
Right.
And she's in charge of that aspect of it.
Sounds like you got a pretty good little setup there.
Yeah.
So is it kind of you and your wife? Are you guys the team there when it comes to kind of making all your decisions there from
we
from a
pretty much
management standpoint?
Yeah, me and the boss. So
So do you guys have any other office employees, or is it just the two of you running the show, and then you got your field crew?
We got one more kind of helps with office, and then we have about 6 field crew out there working it and getting out there and helping the community to where we, when the bell rings, kind of like Ghostbusters.
Right.
We got one.
Yeah.
We go out there and help.
So I imagine you guys don't do much job bidding then, right? You got an influx of. It's not like a typical contractor doing tile or something like that where he's got to go out and bid a job. Like you guys are literally just waiting for people to call.
Exactly. And I know when we first get employees, they're like, hey, Richard, what do we got going next week? And I'm like,
we don't know.
We'll let you know. I'll Sunday night, I'll get a call and I'm like, okay, well, we're going tonight, or maybe it's just they found mold in their attic and it's like, okay, we'll be there tomorrow and we'll take a look, and that's how it goes.
So aside from, go ahead, Brian.
I was gonna say, what requires you to jump in immediately versus waiting a day or 12 hours?
Water, you got to go right now.
Yeah.
You don't want it to become
water intrusion.
Yeah. You don't want it to become a mold problem. You don't want it to become mold.
Right.
So you're gonna come out. We got a truck mount. We're gonna get rid of all the water. We're gonna set the dehues and the fans, start to dry it. And then we'll be back in the morning to continue seeing if we have to cut the walls open, see what happens. If there's mold, you want to get a hygienist out there. You want to do it the right way. You don't want to just guess. I don't want to say, there might be mold in the wall. A hygienist will come out, take air samples, telling you, hey, it's in the northeast wall. And you don't have to cut open a whole bunch of walls now. You're going to the northeast wall.
Right where it is, yeah.
You do a hole. Yeah, there it is. Sometimes we go in there and we see a bunch of mushrooms. Right. You never know what you're going to find.
Jeez.
And then we start working. But mold, you don't have to really rush. You just stay out of that room, and then we create a containment, make sure the spores aren't spreading throughout the house, and get to work.
What's the worst case, or what's a good story that has to do maybe the mushrooms? Like what was it that?
Yeah, how bad have you seen it?
Yeah. Oh, I've kind of what are they called? Snowbirds, the people in Palm Springs where they only come half the year.
right.
To where they come back to their house and they had a leak while they were gone. To where you come in the house and there's black and blue spots 5 feet up the wall, and just all the wood floors are cupped and growing mushrooms out of everywher. Just when
it's a total rebuild at that point, right?
You're just, and they're like, well, how much? And you're like, I'm sorry.
What does a new house?
Let's get a wrecking ball.
Yeah, what does a new house cost out here?
We're just pretty much taking out all the drywall, everything, and if the 2x4s, we're gonna sand them down, we're gonna spray them down, making sure no mold. But that's the worst we've gotten. I think those.
Wow.
And you have 3 months of just sitting there in water. Yeah.
Have you ever experienced? We have a coworker that we work with that was looking to purchase a home, and she was saying that the homeowner was always sick and having a lot of issues, and had to do with the landscaping and the water coming into the home, the way the slope was in the backyard. Have you ever experienced? You're walking in and people are just chronically sick all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, my cousin, he called me out to his house and he's like, Richard, I think I might have mold. I went to the doctors and they said I have mold in my blood.
Ooh.
I mean that.
Ugh.
So his whole family was getting sick.
Right.
And I go over there, I'm like, okay, let's get a hygienist out there because there's no visible mold. Mold likes dark, wet spots.
Right.
So we got the hygienist out there. He's like, that room right there. Turns out they had a flood in that house, not when he was owning it.
But prior to that,
and another mitigation company came out there. They didn't
Do it the right way.
proper way.
Yeah.
So we open up these walls and we find mushrooms, we find black mold. It's just a nightmare connected right to an air duct. So every time they turn on the air conditioning,
just spewing it out into the house.
They're just breathing that in, and they'd gotten used to it. When I walked into their house, I hadn't visited them in a while. So when I walked into their house, I'm like, yeah, I knew it. I'm like,
You got the sniff test?
You got mold, but they'd been there so long, you get
used to it.
desensitized.
Yeah.
So we opened that, and he's like, oh my gosh, they had to get out of the house. That pretty much whole wall and that whole ceiling in that room had to come out, and that was a toxic environment.
That's crazy. So aside from you talked about the unpredictability of the work that's coming in, what are some other challenges that you guys face on a day-to-day basis, or is there one thing that you're like, man, this kind of sucks to deal with every time, all the time?
I think that the estimate part of the job, people want to come in and they'll say, hey, I'm going to get 3 more estimates. Now, everybody should know that they should be using Xactimate pricing. It's an industry standard.
It's a perfect, unperfect science, right?
Yeah. It's square footage, and this is how much you have to charge. If they're not using Xactimate, that means they're making up numbers.
Right.
So everybody's estimate should be the same. But it's really who do you like?
How much, yeah.
Yeah, who do you like? How do you trust this guy?
Right.
So I find that sometimes if I'm the first guy to give the estimate, it's easier to just go with the last guy there.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, you're already here. Get started.
Yeah.
So I think
Or you're the first one to bring the bad news, right?
Yeah, like, sorry. So I think people should know that to ask that question, are you using Xactimate pricing? Because I've gone to other houses and they're like, well, how come they're like $3,000 more than you? And I'm like, let me look. And they're like, because they're just making up pricing.
Right.
They're like, I'm getting paid $100 an hour. And
is there any level of profitability that you can build into that to kind of
Xactimate?
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, of course. It makes it to where it's profitable, but to where nobody's being taken advantage of.
What I'm saying is if you're using one pricing structure, and even if I'm using Xactimate, am I able to say, hey, I want to make a little bit less margin on this job, so maybe I'll be a little bit cheaper?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. Yeah. No, that's
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Perfect. So, I mean, I know this is usually where we kind of get to the point where we want to tell that entertaining story, but I feel like we've kind of heard a few from you already. Do you have anything else for us?
One? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
It made me happy.
We love happy.
House. Once again, it was one of the houses where we went for a smoke. She called me crying. She's like, Richard, oh my gosh, my house. We go back to her house. There's 4 feet of mud throughout her house.
Oh,
jeez.
my goodness.
The whole
Was this
neighborhood?
Louisiana during Katrina?
This is Santa Barbara. The mud.
The fires.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even get there. I can't even walk through to her house. All the other houses are knocked down in her neighborhood. They're just gone. And she's upset. I'm like, but thank God you're safe, okay, we're going to take care of this. We just got to get dozers in here and clear your yard. And she was upset. She had lost her cat. When they evacuated, they couldn't find the cat. They left the cat. This job took like a year to do. I mean, we're off and on because we had to come pack it out. After a year, there's this mangy cat that's just there. And I'm like, I don't know if it doesn't look like the picture.
Just hanging around the property?
Yeah, it doesn't look like the cat. And it can't be the cat. So I get the cat and I wash it with the hose. I'm like, I think this, it was the cat. The cat, a year later, she was so happy that the cat was there.
That's
She's like, oh my God.
Survival instinct.
This cat had been living off of rodents and stuff and living, but it kept on coming back to the house. So that the cat was there. So that was a pretty good story.
That's insane.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and you actually endear yourself with the homeowner at that point because you've brought back a loved one. You know what I mean? Instead of
literally
just
from
doing
the
your job.
dead. Yeah. It's a miracle worker over here. Richard Marquez, miracle worker. That's crazy.
I do what I can do.
So I'm intrigued with black mold, and partly because the home that we live in, we rent right now, but the home that we live in right before us, they had some issues with water, and the area that I live in, Ladera Ranch, was built probably around 20 years ago, and it was built quickly and cheaply, and copper piping and all that.
Oh yeah.
Are you finding a lot more in terms of class action lawsuits and copper piping and issues like cheap stuff? Or
because we've opened up walls where the pipes are touching each other in the wall.
And I assume that's not good.
Yeah, by the look on your face, we assume.
So it's like, how did it break? Well, any little vibration in the house,
right.
there you go.
Yep.
Earthquake.
Yeah.
They're banging, even a little one. So they shouldn't be touching each other in the wall, the pipes.
Right.
So that has happened, especially in Ladera Ranch. Yeah.
Oh, I believe that.
I've had so many calls out there to where I had a call out there to where it's the kind of room where there's another room and it goes down and it's almost, there's like a little seating area, but it's like a hole in the ground. And we go there and it's filled with hot water. The hot water pipe burst and it just filled. It's like
just sitting there like a tub.
To where it's like, oh my gosh.
Jeez, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, on our street, we had next door neighbor, slab leak. The other next door neighbor, slab leak. Across the street, same slab leak. In our home, we had, this is the previous home that we lived in, but we've lived in Ladera for 15, 16 years. But same thing, like we had water pipes bursting in the garage above the, it's just it's a train wreck. And in fact, I was driving home last night. You see all the repipe specialists like driving up and down the street. I mean, they're making bank, rightly so, because the developers of the homes were just throwing stuff up quickly.
Yeah.
Is that just in Ladera, or are you finding that in other communities within Southern California? Temecula, maybe even, right?
Menifee had a lot.
Okay.
When they built those homes, really
because they went up fast.
Yeah, they went up really fast. Temecula, not so much. Parts of Corona.
Okay.
Parts of Corona, but really here in the Orange County.
Yeah.
That's where the big number is. Yeah.
Man.
I get calls and I was like, you kind of know what's going to happen. It's like, all right.
They're like, I live in Ladera. You're like, okay.
Yeah. We'll be there.
You don't need to tell me.
How much of is your work coming to you from the homeowner versus an insurance company?
I would say most of it's homeowner.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Insurance company gives me some work, and it's great when I love it when they're like, hey, come help us, because it's a lot easier. But the homeowner, Yelp is great. So, I got great reviews on Yelp, luckily. And
well, there's no luck involved, right? I mean, you guys it sounds like you guys do a great job. Yeah.
We try. And well, I tell people all the time, I mean, we're a part of Belfour, and we're a small mom and pop company too. So we'll give people the personal attention they need, but at the same time, if it's big, we got our big brother backing, helping us, saying we could take care of anything at the same time, to where I leave jobs and people are hugging me goodbye. My wife's friends with several people now that's
awesome.
That we've done jobs with.
That's a great way to build a business. Yeah.
Well, and it's a good referral network too, right?
Exactly.
Because they say, hey, you got to meet my friend Richard.
Yeah.
And his wife who takes care of all of our china. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I've had calls to where it's like, hey, my friend had a flood, and I went out to Santa Barbara because it's a big catastrophe. We were gonna go take care of that. But it's like, hey, my friend, I told him about you. I'm like, oh great. And it's like, where's it at? San Fernando Valley. I'm like, okay, I guess I can
I appreciate that.
But it's a drive, but I don't mind Orange County here.
Do you have 5 friends in the same neighborhood that have the same problem?
Yeah.
Make this a little easier for us. No, that's awesome. Well, I think that about does it. We really appreciate you coming in and talking today. Where can our listeners find you? Give yourself a little plug here. Phone numbers, email.
Water Damage of Murrieta-Temecula on Yelp. We're 100waterdamage.com, Murrieta-Temecula. And just
perfect.
Call me. Our phone lines are open 24/7 for emergencies, because that's what we do.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, again, thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Hopefully we'll get you a little bit of business out of this as well.
That'd be nice.
All right, man.
All right. Thanks, Richard.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. And if you've made it this far, go ahead and give us a like or 5 stars or whatever means you like us.
Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. And check out our website for more video content and extras.
While you're there, shoot us a message if you want to be a guest. We'd love to have you on.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.